Score North and scorenorth.com.
Hello, football-loving friends. This is Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment from the TCL studios. Enjoy more of what you love with TCL. And Purple Daily is presented by our friends at Surly Brewing. If you missed the news, Surly Brewing and Purple Daily have agreed to a fun partnership. We're going to unveil some fun things, hopefully, over the next several months. And now Judd Zulgad, instead of using water when he brushes his teeth, can just use Surly Furious IPA. It's very exciting for him.
Is this like top 5 happiest Judd Zulgad has ever been?
I was just going to say
this company.
So I've been at the station 9 years, Phil. Is that correct?
I think it's close to 11 years, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Never have I been as happy as I was recently when the deal with our friends at Surly was completed, because you are exactly right. You know what? Water, I've been trying to replace it for years now, and I can officially do that with Surly Furious. But hold on a second here, because to celebrate the Purple Daily Surly venture, I also went out and decided to sample this one. Havoc Machine, West Coast IPA from Surly. It caused havoc, and it was good. So, yes, I am absolutely thrilled. It's going to be fun. And I've been waiting a long time to partner with Surly, my favorites.
Love it. So thanks to Surly for presenting Purple Daily. We've got some Kirk Cousins reckless speculation. Jeff Gladney is gone. We'll get to that too, but let's get to it, Dex. Write that down, predictions.
Most make predictions and then never admit they're wrong. Yeah, that's not Mackie and Judd. This is the place where we just totally own our horrible predictions.
Write this down.
And eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Write that down.
It's Write That Down.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
With Mackie and Judd.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, if you're wondering, what kind of a weird setup does Phil have today? So I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee, for the Podcast Movement Convention. It's like the 6th year. I think they skipped it last year, but it's a good time out here. We're looking for ways to continue growing Purple Daily and Mackie and Judd, and mostly just drink Tennessee whiskey. That's pretty much on the company dime. Let's be honest. It's pretty much what's happening.
Thank you for
keep Chris Stapleton plug right there. But yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Man, I'm going to nerd out so hardcore if I run into Chris Stapleton down here.
I expect an Instagram selfie. I expect a selfie.
Stapleton.
For sure. Go to YouTube, listen to Chris Stapleton. You're welcome. For Judd and for...
Now, if you see Mike Fisher, the former Predator, that would be pretty cool.
Okay.
No, Chris Stapleton would be cooler.
Okay.
Pecorino.
Boys, here's how this works. 3 Vikings or football-related predictions from everybody each week. They must be quantifiable. We keep track of completion percentage and touchdowns. And if you want to be a guest listener participant, you can open the Score North app, tap on the feedback link at the bottom of the homepage, and send Declan a note. We'll get you scheduled for some Write That Down predictions. So let's start off. So, again, not a ton of things coming off the board here, but enough to make it fun. And Judd with a couple things that aren't off the board, but that are worth highlighting because they might be coming off the board. You said the Vikings will have a veteran quarterback in for a workout by week 8 of the NFL season. Well, they've brought in multiple quarterbacks for workouts already, and it's week 2 of training camp, but they're not veterans.
Correct.
Case Cookus has never played in an NFL game, right? Who's this other guy they signed? Like, these are not veterans.
No, he was claimed off waivers from the Seahawks, so he's a little bit higher thought of, but he's definitely not a veteran. Danny Elfling? Edding. Danny Edding. E-T-I-N-G.
Okay.
So anyway, no, he's not a veteran. You're correct.
He can hand off in practice, I guess.
Maybe.
So you're already sniffing around this one, and then you have a prediction on the board that says at least one Vikings starter will miss a game this season because of a positive COVID test. You said that before this last Saturday, like you said it like weeks ago.
Yeah, I feel like this is a darn near touchdown pass.
Is it?
Well, the fact that I made the prediction before this and now all hell is breaking loose makes me feel pretty good about it.
We can address it with the committee and see. But you've got you're sniffing around here. You're sniffing around.
If it comes true. No question about it.
All right. I told you guys Dakota Dozier will indeed be on the first team offensive line at the first training camp practice, and he was. No, I don't get a touchdown for this because he was I made this prediction after, I think, an OTA where he was practicing with the first team, so it was definitely a thing earlier this offseason. But, man, Dakota Dozier, just absolutely still in the mix to be a starting offensive lineman for your Vikings. A couple things worth noting. I have a parlay that says Kellen Mond will be the odds-on favorite for Mr. Mankato, which Chris Long gave him that. And the second part was, but he will not win Mr. Mankato. And I'm feeling good about this. He hasn't done anything because he hasn't played.
No, you're right.
And Jake Browning now basically locked up.
Yeah, I mean Kellen Mond's going to have to dominate in the preseason games to overtake Jake Browning for both the number 2 quarterback spot and Mr. Mankato.
If Chris Long was actually a bank or a casino, and those, what was it, 75-1 for Jake Browning, like that would have been one hell of a payout, dude. I
think if we could go back, we probably would have brought that number down.
Yeah.
From 75-1 to something else, but it is sometimes sometimes the house gets burned. Sometimes the house gets burned. There's another one on the board here. I said sometime between now and next week's Write That Down, Kellen Mond will be intercepted at least twice in one practice. So I need Judd's help here. You're the eyes and ears at practice. Now he hasn't practiced much.
He hasn't practiced since Saturday.
So if you can think back to like last Wednesday through Friday, he didn't. Okay.
No.
All right, so that one's wrong.
Nope, that's just wrong.
Okay. So we'll make the proper adjustment there. Listeners had one thing come off the board.
Nice.
Well, we're taking this off the board. Could they re-sign him at some point? I doubt it. Tony said Jeff Gladney will not play a down for the Vikings in the 2021 season. My only question for you guys, is that a touchdown pass?
Depends when he obviously probably made it when the,
We've seen the reports. Yeah.
It's not because if he was indicted, he was almost certainly going to be released. So I would say it's not, because I just think he was accused of a heinous crime. The grand jury basically said he should go to trial for it. Now, if he had gone there in like March or something, it's like 8 touchdown passes, but I don't think it is. Okay. But that's just me.
And then Declan said, I'm going to need a little clarification here from you guys, but I think this happened. Judd will rip the Vikings for playing Dakota Dozier in a column or social media video within the first week of training camp. This absolutely has happened, right? On the website and in these videos.
You've been harder on it than I have, but I've definitely questioned it. So I think it's fair.
Okay. Just want to make sure there. So Declan, we gave you that point there. And so this is a little bit inaccurate. Declan is leading 38% completions, no touchdowns. Judd, 37% completions. Actually, I'm sorry. Declan does have a touchdown.
Yeah, I got one from last week. We had to.
Aaron Rodgers will report to the Packers for OTA. So you do have a touchdown.
Robbed, Declan. Yeah. People just don't like
I know.
it.
Yes.
Sorry.
I know.
It's more just me. Hey. I'm in a little bit of a fog. I was on Broadway Street till midnight last night. And so
Declan was out till 2, and I was in bed by 11.
Something's I guess weird this week. Judd's been optimist all week. He was in bed at a recent hour. I mean, something's in the water this week at Score North. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It is. It's opposite week, man. Judd, 37% completions, no touchdowns. Listeners, 33% completions, 2 touchdowns. And I'm at 29% completions, 5 touchdowns, which is really all I care about.
You're slinging it.
Just here
Phillip Rivers, you are.
So let's get to the predictions here. And Dex, who is our guest listener predictor? I know we had to change up the recording time, so he sent in via video satellite, sent in his predictions, it sounds like.
Yeah, our guy Brady sent in some predictions here. I believe some offensive line ones. We have a Justin Jefferson. I have actually not heard his third prediction. But yes, we have 3 predictions from our guy Brady here that are ready to rock.
All right. Well, how do you want? Are they separate, or should we just play them all in one chunk?
Yeah, they're separate. So we'll just do the same order. Brady over to Judd, to Declan, back to Phil.
All right. So here's Brady's first prediction.
According to PFF, the Vikings offensive line was ranked 26th last year. So my Write That Down prediction is that the Vikings offensive line will be ranked roughly the same next year as they were this last year. And to make that quantifiable, I'll say that the Vikings will be ranked plus or minus 2 of 26. So they'll be ranked somewhere between 24th and 28th in next year's PFF's final offensive line rankings.
Love it.
That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially with Darisaw hasn't been practicing, and Dakota Dozier is going to be the starting right guard. Like, it is Dude, it's right now as we sit here on August 4th, a month before the season, it is worse than it was last year on paper.
Well, yeah, because you've taken the left tackle spot and downgraded it.
For now. He might, Darrisaw might be able to play catch up. We'll see.
Get to that.
Okay.
All right.
I've got that in my write that downs.
Judd Zilgad, your first prediction.
Okay, given the odd start to this camp and people making decisions to benefit or help themselves and not the team, and really just a potential fracture of an organization that feels like it could go sideways, Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer won't be back with the Vikings in 2022.
Wow, dude.
Kirk Cousins and Zimmer, both of them. Now, I have a write that down from a while back saying that Kirk will be the starting quarterback, I think, for the Broncos in 2022, but I'm going to double down by just saying both quarterback and coach are going to be gone.
How do you think, just off the record here, Mike Zimmer has always he's
Jacqueline?
What's that?
I said, is that enough? Because you ripped my last write that down pick on
do
the
not.
snow.
You cannot compare these two.
Okay, first of all, hold on. First of all, this is a different show, so let's explain. On Mackie and Judd, Judd literally is trying to protect his 400 batting average by predicting things like the Twins will offer Byron Buxton an extension this offseason, and Miguel Sano will hit at least 5 home runs between now and the end of the year. Like, you're squaring up and trying to protect a 400 batting average.
So now
I don't think you're not playing the game the right way.
So
the Vikings will have 5 first downs in a football game this season. That's the equivalent of that prediction.
Look, Tom Kelly, what I'm telling you right now is I just predicted head coach and quarterback on this one are gone, okay?
So,
Today.
Okay, so off the record on that front, Mike Zimmer, even from the day that the Kirk Cousins stuff was rumored 3 years ago, right, in the offseason, Zimmer was like, we got to be careful, paying too much for a quarterback, not going to name names, Kirk Cousins, right?
Yes.
He's always sort of tolerated Kirk, but it's obvious they've never had a great connection. Like, they're not like spending a bunch of time together in the offseason, scheming plays. Like, they're coworkers, basically, right? I mean, if this whole thing, like, let's say Kirk misses a couple games or something and Zimmer gets fired because, they came up 1 game short of the playoff, whatever the scenario is, if Zimmer loses his job in large part because of Kirk, I'd love to know his unfiltered thoughts over a glass of red wine. I mean,
you could probably get him now, though. Like, I mean, I don't think he likes him. I think he thinks that he's a pain, and he doesn't justify that contract. So yeah, I think that Mike, if you got Mike a bottle of red wine right now and a steak and you started to eat and drink, I think he would tell you quarterbacks for the most part are a pain in my ass, and this guy is number 1.
Yep. All right, over to Declan, your first prediction.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
All right, my first prediction, I'll go for the touchdown pass here. Kirk Cousins will not start week 1 of the season for the Vikings. I'm going to say Kirk Cousins will not start week 1 of the NFL season for the Vikings.
Off the record, because he's on the COVID list, or?
I think this is brewing to something very substantial.
Wow, dude.
I am just going to say it right now. Kirk Cousins. This is a bomb from the 20-yard line. Still, I mean, this is still a humongous touchdown pass. Kirk Cousins will not start week 1 of the season for the Vikings. This protects me too.
I love where you're going with this, because it does feel like it's at a tipping point.
I feel this is very nerdy of me. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. I've had enough of this Jedi Council BS, and I am like committing genocide across everything, and I'm going to start a new empire. This is
lost me.
This is absurd.
Sorry, Rami.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Speaking of empires, let's talk about the NHRA Lucas Oil Nationals at Brainerd International Raceway. You want to talk about an empire of drag racing. That's what NHRA is. But the fastest show on earth, we're talking about 330 mile per hour top speeds. If you just want your face blown off, bring your pens and paper for on-the-spot autographs. This is all happening August 18th through the 22nd at Brainerd International Raceway, where the world's best racers and fastest cars around congregate for 4 days. Tickets and camping packages available at birmn.com. birmn.com. Write this down. I am very curious to see, as I told you guys on Mackie and Judd today, how Kirk. So, I mean, Kirk is going to address the media at some point here, Thursday, Friday, this week. He's going to be asked about vaccines. He's going to be asked about having to miss a week of practice, and Mike Zimmer and Mark Wilf and the Vikings social media accounts all sort of doubling down and piling on the players who haven't been vaccinated. The Washington Post report, like there's just a lot of things that people want Kirk to talk about here as it pertains to vaccines. Write this down. Kirk will decline to answer any questions about his vaccination beliefs. So I think he might confirm the obvious, which is that he's not vaccinated. I'm not counting that. I'm not saying his vaccination status. I'm saying when pressed about elaborating more on why he's not vaccinated, he will decline to answer those questions. Or I'll just say he will not answer those questions.
Okay, because he will for sure be asked now, after what's happened in light of this, do you plan to get vaxxed? And I don't know what I'll say to that one. He might decline that one too.
Yeah. So we'll see. All right, let's go back to guest listener predictor Brady here via satellite.
My second, write that down, is that a record will return to Minnesota. Justin Jefferson will set the record for the most receiving yards by a player in their first 2 seasons. Randy Moss had the record. He was passed by Odell, and Justin Jefferson this season will bring it back to Minnesota.
Interesting.
Brady looks like he could easily be an assistant coach.
You know who else Brady looks like? This is inside football. He looks like Chris Ron on the Score North sales team. He's like,
oh my God, he kind of does.
Nobody knows. I mean, nobody who's watching. He's one of our coworkers.
He's got like the coach Vikings shirt on. He looks like he could coach Kirk and Browning, Nate Stanley.
Yeah,
like a position coach.
He's got some football in his blood. All right, back to Judd. Your second prediction.
Irv Smith Jr., who, by the way, continues day after day after day to be impressive in training camp. He will be named to the Pro Bowl this season.
All right. You're buying a lot of Irv Smith stock.
Yeah. I'm buying a ton of stock. They're using him a lot. He looks fantastic. He's bigger. Kyle is gone. Everything to me adds up to a substantial year.
Kyle is gone.
Write this down.
Kyle being gone just makes me really happy.
I mean, Kyle had a nice decade-long run as a Vikings tight end.
He was good, but I'm just saying by last year, he didn't serve a purpose.
Sure. All right, back to Declan. Your second prediction.
All right, another Kirk Cousins prediction. Kirk Cousins will be booed by Vikings fans the first time he is announced or shown on the video board at US Bank Stadium. Now, Judd, I will need some quantifiableness here.
I'm going to have to remember to watch that.
I will need some type of quantifiable moment here. I think this is enough of a prediction, but I will need some help from the committee.
I will do my best to pay attention to that. But I think if he's booed, it will be obvious. So I think you're safe.
So this is like the first preseason game, basically, right? That's what you're saying.
But I mean,
either like when,
Sorry, Dux.
Yep. Either when he'll be shown, just so ready to, So I think he'll be booed. I think he will be booed by the Vikings fan. But we'll have to judge that booing.
I don't know if fans are at that point yet. I think right now people are just kind of mildly annoyed that. Like this is our world. Like we're immersed in this every day. We're seeing him having missed 5 practices or whatever, and it is a big deal. But I think it would have to something bigger would have to happen. Like he's more likely to get booed throwing 3 interceptions in a game than like missing a week of training camp practice. But I like where you're going. You're shooting your shot here.
They're going to avoid introducing him too. That's my guess.
Just to insulate, make sure that there's no.
Here's your Minnesota Vikings offense. That's what we'll hear.
All right, write this down. So, Judd, you have said they brought in Case Cookus and then this other guy from Seattle because they just need bodies at quarterback in practice this week. And it's possible that because Kellen Mond might not be back right away, so they might keep Case Cookus around for a little bit. So write this down. And you've said Case Cookus has not been allowed to throw passes really in practice.
Not really, no.
Okay.
Nope, you're not doing it.
So write this down. Sometime during, I'm going to say Wednesday. So today, do they have practice tomorrow or they have an off day tomorrow? They're practicing tomorrow.
Practicing tomorrow. Yep.
So either today or tomorrow, so Wednesday or Thursday.
Yep.
Case Cookus will throw at least one pass in a team drill. So a 7-on-7 or a full 11-on-11 team drill. I'm not talking like the individual, like one-on-one cornerback receivers. In a 7-on-7 or an 11-on-11, he will throw at least one pass.
I feel like he might have thrown a pass in a 7-on-7. I'm talking about full team drills that he's not being allowed to pass.
Then I will amend it. I'll take the 7-on-7 out. In a full team drill, they will allow him to throw at least one pass.
Because he has not done that, I don't think.
Okay. It'll be a big step for everyone in Case Cookus.
I see you guys are putting a lot on me as far as trying to monitor things when I am, doing film. I've become a videographer. Hey, don't.
When you lay up with the 5 home run, Miguel, sit up. All right, we're stealing another bit. All right, let's go.
All right, back over to guest listener predictor Brady via satellite.
My last Write That Down prediction is that at least one NFL team will miss the playoffs by one game. And earlier in their season, they will have lost a game, either due to a COVID forfeit or because their starting quarterback could not play due to COVID. All right, those are my predictions. I just want to say thanks a lot. I love your guys' show, and I'm really happy to be on it.
All right, great stuff there from guest listener predictor Brady. And we're sorry we couldn't get him on like the actual show here, but we changed our recording schedule around because I'm at this podcast convention. But Brady, great work. Nice job being concise and also being quantifiable. Let's go back one more trip around here. Judd Zulgad, your final prediction.
Rashad Hill will start at left tackle in week 1 for the Vikings.
Oh, God, dude.
Rashad Hill.
Dude,
Christian Darrisaw, as I told Declan, I believe it was Purple Daily yesterday, Phil, Christian Darrisaw so far has done nothing in any Vikings-related on-field session. He had surgery. He had core surgery after last college season. So I don't see any way that they are going to be able to get him up to speed to start in week 1. Rashad Hill starts.
So like hernia surgery?
Groin.
Okay.
It was basically a groin, but the core, and it's not, I just don't see it. I don't think it's feasible.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, it's just he's a rookie. Like there's almost no way at this point. And he didn't do anything in minicamp and OTAs, right?
No, that's what I'm saying is he has not done anything with a helmet on that qualifies as actual practice work.
Dude, it is I feel like, and it's, again, there's a month left of preseason training camp, let's let this thing play out, but it's starting to feel like the dog in the burning room gif, like everything's fine.
This is fine.
GIF. Yep. Yeah. It kind of feels like that right now, but we'll give him the month to sort this out. Declan, your final prediction?
All right, no more Kirk Cousins bashing for me, shockingly. My final predictions, write this down. There will be a credible report that Harrison Smith got the vaccine. So I believe there's been some rumblings that he is not vaccinated.
He said he's not.
Yep. So I'm going to say that there will be a credible report, or he himself, I'll give myself some leeway as well, or he himself was vaccinated.
Okay.
Has
anyone staked out the parking lot? Because didn't Mike Zimmer say, hey, if you want to go back there?
Yes, you can't do that.
Which, by the way, is amazing. The head coach of this team would say, if you guys want to go see.
He didn't say that.
Yeah, I think it was taken out of context.
He jokingly said you can see them in the morning doing it, but he didn't mean
go out and
that
see
we
it.
could watch it.
Okay.
And it's a player's lot, because I actually went to that trailer on Saturday to get tested. It's the player's lot in the front, and it's blocked off, so you can't see it.
Okay. All right. I've got 2 final things here, and write that down. Number 1, write this down. Moon Motorsports is the absolute place to go in and around the Twin Cities. If you're looking for side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles, they're celebrating 50 years as a family-owned and operated multi-line dealer in Monticello. My old high school rival, Monticello. They would just beat us all the time in like every sport. No, we beat them a couple times at Buffalo.
The Magic, baseball. Right? Monticello Magic, I believe.
They were, yeah. Joel Prisbilla played at Monticello. He would just dunk on everyone. He was 7 feet tall as like a senior. It's ridiculous.
And then he quit the Gophers.
Yep. And then he blocked a bunch of shots and made $50 million in the NBA or whatever. Good for him.
Gig.
I'm sure he's probably been to Moon Motorsports in Monticello. So check him out, moonmotorsports.com, if you're looking to check out the best selection of inventory, ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles, side-by-sides, moonmotorsports.com. And write this down. Final prediction here. Dakota Dozier will be, write it down. I won't be able to explain it or justify it, but Dakota Dozier will be your starting right guard in week 1.
If Dakota Dozier is starting at right guard and Rashad Hill is starting at the left tackle spot, there's a chance that
Say a prayer.
Declan's first Kirk Cousins prediction comes true because he gives himself COVID.
What? Like just to miss
so he
the
doesn't
game
have
on
to play-
purpose?
Just so he doesn't have to play.
Oh
Inject me
my
with
God,
it.
dude.
What? Kirk, are you getting the
no,
vaccination?
no.
No, inject me with COVID.
Right here.
I don't want to play.
Roll up the sleeves, baby.
I'd rather be sick.
God.
Okay, on the subject of Kirk real quick here. So Mike Florio put an interesting nugget out there. And this is reckless speculation. This is
Pretty
not
damn reckless, dude.
Yeah,
Right.
I was going to say this trumps us, I think.
Well, this starts off as a report. I'm going to read this, and then it morphs into just like wild, reckless speculation.
Yes.
So this is Pro Football Talk this morning. It's about Deshaun Watson. The Texans want to trade quarterback Deshaun Watson. For now, however, they haven't gotten an offer that they're willing to accept. The number of teams interested in Deshaun Watson remains unclear. The Eagles definitely are. The Dolphins aren't believed to be. The Broncos seem to be willing to ride with Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater for 2021, which Declan loves those guys. And the Broncos are just content to explore their options for next year. I think the Broncos might just be waiting on Rodgers at this point. And according to a league source, the Panthers are quietly keeping an eye on Deshaun Watson. Very interesting. Here's another team that likely won't get involved, but given its coach's current exasperation with his starting quarterback, should at least make a phone call. The Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins plus conditional picks in 2022 and 23 based on Deshaun Watson's availability over the next 2 seasons could make sense for both teams. It could give the Vikings a path out of a maze in which they've
That'd be cool,
otherwise
man.
been stuck.
I'd like to see that again.
That was
That was my insincere Judd
insincere
insincere
Judd there.
Judd.
about
Yeah.
Wildy's kids. I feel bad about that.
It would give Minnesota a path out of a maze in which they're otherwise stuck, and it would solve Houston's QB4 problem as well.
Yeah.
So Deshaun Watson has dozens of sexual misconduct cases stacking up against him. His actual hearing isn't until like January or February. So he's available to play this season. But there's just so much murkiness there for him. But what did you when you guys saw that? What did you think of this? I mean, a year ago it would have been, oh my God, if you could, for me anyways, if you could trade Cousins for Deshaun Watson, get younger, get mobile, a no-brainer. But
It's no. You can't do this. Like you just can't. You just released Gladney for being accused of and now going to trial, but not being guilty of a potentially what appears to be heinous act. Okay, which by the way, I'm on board with saying we can't have this on our team. So are you really going to go pay the price for Deshaun Watson, not knowing how this is going to turn out? Like this is if Deshaun Watson just wanted out of the Texans and was going through just a spat with a team, I love this. Like this sounds like a lot of fun to talk about. Complete non-starter that is reckless as I love to be, and we all do. I wouldn't even give this a second thought of, man, what a possibility. You can't do this.
I agree. Yeah, you can't. And he even knows, like, they're not going to do this. Like, even without the Jeff Gladney thing, now that Jeff Gladney has been released, you can't turn around and trade for a guy. And I think we're talking about different, not to like compare the types of potential crimes here, but
Right.
I just don't think you get involved at all with a player that's being accused of the things that Deshaun Watson's being accused of. So
Agree.
So for those reasons, I'm out. But it is interesting that someone's probably going to trade for Deshaun Watson. Like, he's so talented. At some point, he's going to get a shot. He wasn't at practice yesterday with the Texans, and their head coach declined to say why, other than to say, we make decisions every day based on like what's good for the football team. So everyone's like, is he traded? Is he just like moping around? On the Jeff Gladney thing, so the Vikings released Jeff Gladney, and I don't know, like how do you know? There's players with questionable backgrounds. I mean, you could have made a case that Dalvin Cook had some things in his background. Like, sometimes it's hard to predict. All right, who's going to be on the straight and narrow when they get to the league, and then who's going to fly off the rails like Gladney did.
Yes.
But however we got here, the Vikings had first-round picks in succession. Now, Justin Jefferson was also drafted. It was the same year as Jeff Gladney, right? They drafted both those guys. And they have hit a grand slam with Justin Jefferson. That's one of the greatest draft picks in Vikings history. It's like Moss, Jefferson's probably on the Mount Rushmore of best draft picks in Vikings history when it's all said and done. But they had a run there of Gladney, Garrett Bradbury, who's one of the worst pass-blocking centers in the NFL, Mike Hughes, Laquan Treadwell. And as somebody pointed out yesterday on Twitter, the last first-round pick that got a second contract with the Vikings, Anthony Barr. So we have to go back like 7 years. Now, in fairness, the last, Justin Jefferson's going to get a second contract. So some of this is just those are 5-year rookie deals. But, man, they've had, Treadwell, Hughes, Bradbury, Gladney. Treadwell and Gladney were basically just nothing for your franchise, right? Yes. Bradbury's been your starting center, and there's still some hope. And Mike Hughes was just kind of an average-ish cornerback who had some injury things, right? But that's now they've done really well in the second round, and they've had some late rounds, so they've done okay in some of these drafts. But that's some great capital that's just been flushed down the toilet with those 4 picks.
So on Hughes, I'm willing to give them a pass because I think that he was maturing and developing into a good player and had neck problems and obviously tore his ACL as a rookie. Sure. That's bad luck, okay? Treadwell is a complete bust, a terrible miscalculation. That's an awful pick. Bradbury, if Bradbury doesn't have a good year, I think you seriously have to start to look for your next starting center for 2022. And keep in mind, again, it's a first-round center. If we're talking about a left tackle, okay, I take a chance because left tackle is really important and those guys are hard to find. But centers, Matt Burke was a 6th-round pick. Jeff Christie was picked off the pile. So you have had some great centers in franchise history who you got late. If I'm not mistaken, Sullivan was a 5th-round pick. This is a first-round pick, and he might be a bust. That's a problem. Where I'm not going to give them a pass on Gladney, and I don't care what they say now. Where I don't give them a pass is, Phil, you sat in enough of those draft press conferences to hear Spielman talk about how much vetting they do, how much they look into backgrounds, how much they talk to people, the thousands of dollars they spend to make damn sure that they're right. And I know that Zim came out yesterday, I believe, on KFAN possibly, and said, well, we didn't see this. We didn't know it because he had never done anything like this previously, talking about Jeff Gladney. Okay. So according to the complaint, I believe he basically tortured and or was alleged to have had basically kept this ex-girlfriend for 2 hours and been violent. Okay. So this was not a he snapped thing. This was a calculated thing. If you're going to tell me how much work that you do to vet a person's personality and is this a good person? I don't think you just go off for an extended period against a person with no past, with I was a great guy till now, and now I'm a terrible person. So on Hughes, okay, it's unfortunate. It happens. But on Gladney, don't tell me, we red dot a lot of guys because we don't want the wrong person in our room. And then come back after a year with Gladney and say, didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's tough. On one hand, I agree with you that, boy, how do you just not see any red flags about a guy's personality? But then on the other side of things, it's not like you get, 5 weeks to spend with a player before you decide if you're going to draft him. You can bring him in for a workout, spend some time, but you're not hanging out with him at home. So you don't really get that deep look into their personalities, and people can fake it, especially in a football setting. You can fake it.
But that's what they take great pride on saying that they get past that point and delve deeper, and they clearly didn't. What's the story about the Jaguars high draft pick receiver who the Jaguars took?
Justin Blackman.
drug
Right.
and alcohol problems. And there were reports subsequently that some teams would stake out the bar that this
Yeah.
guy went to and see him getting drunk and said, we're out. That's the type. But I mean, if you're going to tell me that your system is so great, then it better be great.
Yeah. And I posted the screenshot of those 4 draft picks, the first round busts, or in Bradbury's case, maybe close to a bust. And, 80, 90% of people are, that's a rough run. But then 15, 20% of people are, well, they've drafted really well in the second round, which they have. Brian O'Neill, Dalvin Cook, there's been some good players picked there, and other teams whiff on first round picks too. I haven't done the deep dive to see if other teams have 4 picks that bad in succession in those same years, but there's nothing to defend here. I'm not saying everyone needs to be just fired, but Rick Spielman needs to wear this a little bit. Yeah, he's done a good job finding talent in other rounds, but first round draft picks and the fact that you get them locked in for 5 years, or you can trade them for something valuable, those are valuable assets. Yes. And for you to wind up with 1 year of Jeff Gladney, Mike Hughes, injuries, you could blame it on that, a terrible pass blocking center for a immobile quarterback in Laquan Treadwell, you should wear that. You should, that warrants criticism for sure.
And nobody gets a job as a GM in this league and is told, look, a lot of teams whiff on first round picks, kids. So don't be concerned if you do. Mm-hmm. That's not the strategy going in. The strategy is how do we hit on as many picks as possible? So yeah, I mean, they 1000%. And when you take a center in the first round, you better be damn sure that guy's going to Canton.
Well,
not be a bust.
I don't think we're quite to that point with Garrett Bradbury.
Well, he could go. I mean, I'm
buy
sure
a ticket?
He paid to get into the Hall of Fame. I'm sure he could go look around.
Right, he probably could. He can probably afford a ticket.
See the helmets and stuff. That'd be cool.
Sounds like we're talking about risk management here when it comes to the Vikings and first round draft picks. And let me tell you who the best in the business is helping your business with risk management. That would be Federated Mutual Insurance Company. Federated's been around since 1904, based in Owatonna. A lot of Minnesota sports fans, a lot of long-suffering Minnesota sports fans that I've met at that company. So find out how they can help your business, give you a little extra rest at night as a business owner, and play defense. See what I did there? Against potential things that could derail your business. Federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. All right, so we're sending Judd back out to practice today, where he's going to monitor all 17 of our specific Write That Down predictions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judd.
Let's send him with a list.
If Kirk gets booed at training camp practice, does that count for Declan?
No.
Okay.
I said
sure.
U.S. Bank Stadium vicinities.
Okay, you said U.S. Bank. Okay.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. Daily Vikings entertainment with one mission. We want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Presented by our friends at Surly Brewing. I think we're going to unveil a segment next week in paying homage to the great movie Airplane. Surly, you can't be furious, or Surly, you must be furious with Judd Zulgad. We'll just give Judd a place to rant.
I never get upset. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, we'll see.
Cool, calm, and collected.
We'll see you guys tomorrow on Purple Daily.